This is Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust today that this will be like a vitamin or a supplement for your mind and heart. And wherever you receive podcasts from, if you would please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, leave a rating and a brief written review. It will enable other excellent people just like you to locate this podcast and join the group. I'm glad that you're with us today. Let's talk about doing a tuning in and tuning up. What do we need to do to listen to ourselves, listen to others, listen to what's going on around us in order to become a better leader? You have heard me say that I've never learned anything by talking, but I've learned a lot by listening. And so I would just say in these days ahead, could we just make a concerted effort to decide that we're going to listen? We're going to tune in. We're going to tune into the people around us. We're going to listen to their voices. We're going to see what we can learn, what can be of benefit to us, and then we will move on and go from there. So tuning in. Then tuning up means periodically we need to take our vehicles to a place where they can make sure that we're firing on all cylinders, nothing is amiss, nothing's gotten out of alignment, nothing has happened that doesn't need to be corrected, or in fact, if something has happened that causes there the need for maintenance. Regardless of who you are, where you are today, we all have a need for maintenance. We all have a need to pay attention. This is both in our personal lives, spiritual lives, emotional, mental, family, as well as business. So what might be some components? Let me give you what may seem like random, but some things that I have thought about that would be good things for us to tune into to see, is there a way to incorporate this into my life, or is there a way to get better at it? And then are there some things personally that I need to do to tune up, to make sure I'm running at the optimum way that I was built to run? The first one I'm going to talk about is a challenge for some of us, and that is delegating. We all know we should do it. There are, of course, some of us who are by nature, it's easy for some of us to do. There are for others of us that it's quite difficult. But the idea is that no one person can do everything, whether it's in your family, whether it's where you work. And all of us have strengths and weaknesses, and it's wonderful to have someone come alongside of us who has a particular gift mix and certain things that they can do, and we lean on their expertise, and together we are able to accomplish more. The amazing thing is, together you're not just able to accomplish what two people will do, you're able to accomplish exponentially more than what two people could do. And if this is an area that you struggle with in life, this would very well be a time to really tune in and tune this up. I've already done a podcast or two in just very recent days about self-care and self-management, but you could not talk about tuning in and tuning up without making sure you are really paying attention to the area of self-care. Are you getting the proper rest? Are you doing things that move you forward? Are you keeping your mind clear? Are you spending some downtime? Are you investing in important relationships? Are you listening to your body, to your mind? If you're a person of faith, make sure that you're not neglecting your spiritual life either. It's very, very important. Another item that I would say as we're tuning in to what's going on around us and how to do better and be better, and a tune-up is never stop learning. I think the mantra that has stuck with me the longest in my life is the fact that I committed early on. It's one of the few things I committed on to early on. It was the last year of my seminary when a professor told us about reading books and that you should read every day. This is pre-e-reader and reading apps. That we read hardback books or paperback books. And I just committed to what was probably audacious and outlandish as far as a reading goal. But I'm happy to report that since 1982, for 38 years, I've already accomplished it for this year. I have met or exceeded my reading goal. Now, do I get a blue ribbon? Do I get to go to the head of the class? No. But I do believe it has helped me. I've been exposed to ideas, to material, to authors that I would never have met, and to concepts and principles I never would have incorporated into my own life. I believe it helps you with your vocabulary. I believe it keeps your mind and your spirit fresh, keeps you from growing stale. It gives you a never-ending use of stories that you can tell and communicate. It keeps you fresh as you are continually learning new things. For oftentimes, many folks do not read anything after they finish their formal schooling. As you're tuning in and tuning up, one of the things that I want to remind you about is right now would be a good time to examine the elephant in the room. All of us have elephant in the room that we do our best. Oftentimes, by keeping ourselves exceedingly busy, we fail to really come to terms and to deal with that particular problem area of life. Thus, the idiomatic phrase, the elephant in the room, meaning that try as we might to ignore it, it is so large and so ever present. Everyone sees it. The best thing we can do is right now to acknowledge it and begin to deal with it and try. Perhaps it's some decision that you have needed to make for a long time at work, something that you have been dragging your feet about and really do not look forward to making the decision, but there it is, you have to do it. Maybe it's an area of your health. Perhaps it's some relational situation in your life that you need to get right. Perhaps it's to go on a spiritual journey. It's to grow in your faith. Perhaps it's to finish an education or a degree. It may be something as simple as this is the time, this is the year, this next year is the year I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to start a side hustle or a side gig, and I'm going to get involved in things that really, truly make a difference. For many of us, the elephant in the room is a difficult conversation that we know is not only due, it's long past due, and we need to just get on top of it and bring it to a conclusion. You don't have to solve the elephant in the room or get rid of it in a 24-hour period, but it will not get better and things will not happen until you make a decision that I'm going to address this particular problem. I know that there are people in your family, your sphere of friendship and influence, and perhaps even where you work, who are all aware that there is an elephant in the room. And I think one of the greatest things you can do for your leadership is to get right on it right now and to take care of it and to deal with it presently. I think as you're tuning in and tuning up, one of the things that is important is to just do a real deep dive or an assessment of your communication strategy. Again, this applies to all of your life. How are you communicating with your spouse, your significant other, your children? How are you communicating with the people at work? How are you just doing that? Now, everyone I know thinks they're communicating, thinks that everybody ever understands everything as they do. They think everyone is on the same page. And yet time after time after time, when you get into conversations with people that you think would know have no earthly idea what in the world is going on. And just because we think we have communicated does not necessarily mean that we have communicated. Therefore, it is imperative for the leader to look at and do a deep dive and a deep assessment of your communication. I think another tuning in and tuning up item that really needs our attention is diplomacy. Now, diplomacy is not something you hear me talking about all that often, but in the area of work, there are some areas where we could become much more diplomatic. One of those areas is we just need to learn to ask questions. I have a tendency to always rush in and believe that I'm the answer person and I'm the one that's ordained to fix everything. But perhaps before we can even start that, we have to have a proper understanding and assessment of what is the difficulty anyway. And the best way to come to that is to simply move into a place and just ask questions. Come along someone and say, how do you perceive of what is happening? How do you see the problem? What do you think is going on? Are there larger issues afoot that absolutely positively must be addressed? And as you're listening, and oftentimes, if not all of the time, you need to be taking notes. One of the things you must do is summarize the other person's position with a statement of understanding. You see, a statement of understanding doesn't mean I absolutely, totally agree with you. It means I have heard you, I have listened to you, and I believe there are reasons, genuine, valid, important reasons why you feel as you do. You see, at this point, it's not my job to tell them that they're wrong, or to correct them, or to even bring what I think are factual information to change. At this point, before we get into any of that, the greatest gift we can give anyone is to begin to understand their position. It's the way we develop empathy. And so whether I agree with it, whether it's my perspective, or whether I really think you're right or not is inconsequential at this point. My point is to listen, synthesize your thoughts, be able to put them in my own words and summarize them to your satisfaction that yes, not in a pejorative way, not making fun, not in a sarcastic way, but that I have heard